It was Christmas. The fire crackled, the tree lights blinked, and my daughter-in-law leaned across the table, smiling sweetly as she gutted me with her words. "Your poor old face is becoming a shame to this family," she said. Her lipstick didn't smudge when she said it. My son laughed, too quickly. Finally, someone said it. That was the cut, the deep one, the one that should have left me bleeding on the floor. Instead, I smiled, calm, cold, and I stood up. Then, "I'm leaving." I reached for my coat, and that's when his phone rang. The screen lit up. His boss. My son answered, jokingly annoyed, but then I watched his face drain, his mouth hanging open. "Is that your mother on the Forbes cover?" The silence at that table was sweeter than any carol. And that's where my story begins. Backstory: I wasn't always invisible to my son. Once, I was his whole world. I raised him alone, worked 3 jobs to put food on the table. I sold jewelry, stitched clothes, even scrubbed floors while he studied, dreaming of the life I could never give myself. When he met her, the daughter-in-law who now called me shame, I welcomed her. I opened my doors, my savings, my heart. I wanted my son to have more than I ever did. I believed her when she said she loved family. But family, to her, was only a weapon. Discovery. It started small. She'd wrinkle her nose when I spoke, roll her eyes at my stories, replace gifts I gave her with better ones. My son, caught between us, always chose her. Then one day I overheard her on the phone. "She's pathetic, still clinging to us because she has nothing else. Don't worry, once the house is in our name, she'll fade out." The house, my house. And my son? He didn't stop her. He agreed. "She's old, she doesn't need much, just a pension and silence." That was the night I stopped being their fool. Shift in mindset. I didn't cry, not in front of them. Instead, I wrote everything down. Every slight, every whisper, every plan they thought I didn't hear. And then I made my own plan. I had lived quietly, but not emptily. For 30 years I'd invested, quietly, cautiously. While they thought I was hoarding coins, I was building empires, real estate, stocks, a small textile company that had grown into something global. The Forbes cover? That was not an accident. It was the opening move of my revenge. Execution. First, I let them believe I was weak. I signed nothing, smiled often, nodded when they spoke of the future. Let them think I was a burden they'd soon shed. Behind the curtain, I shifted everything. The house transferred into a trust in my granddaughter's name, not theirs. The company shares restructured. My son's name removed from any inheritance clauses. My will rewritten, sealed. I also called in a quiet favor. His boss, an old friend, was eager to showcase me in the magazine, a female entrepreneur who had built an empire in silence. The timing, I asked, should be December, right before Christmas. Perfect. Climax. So there I was, coat in hand, their cruelty still echoing in the room. My son's boss asked him the question I'd been waiting for. "Is that your mother on the Forbes cover?" My daughter-in-law's fork clattered. My son's face turned chalk white. I didn't need to answer. The glossy magazine spoke louder than I ever could. My face, wrinkled, yes, but proud, stared back from that cover. I slid into my coat, slow, deliberate. "Shame?" I said, softly. "No. Legacy." I turned to my son. "Everything you have came from these hands. The roof above your head, the clothes you wore, the education you brag about. You wanted me to fade quietly. Instead, I've chosen to rise loudly. My daughter-in-law tried to smile, her voice brittle. We were joking. No, I cut her off. You were revealing. I opened the door. But before leaving, I gave them one last gift, the truth. The house you're sitting in? Not yours. Never will be. The company you thought you'd inherit? Gone. I've left it all to the only one who never treated me like shame. Their daughter, my granddaughter. The silence that followed was perfect, heavy, eternal. Resolution. I walked out into the winter night, the snow falling soft against my skin. For the first time in years, I felt warm. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to fight. I only needed to let the truth unfold at the right time, like a blade sliding across silk. Betrayal taught me one thing. The quietest person at the table often holds the sharpest weapon. They thought my face was shame. Now they know it was power all along. And I left them with nothing but that knowledge, carved deep into their bones, haunting them every Christmas that will follow.